if you are here, you will also have your track. If you are learning Web3 marketing, then you learn it to the end. If you're taking two tracks or like which are on okay, thank you. If you're taking like different tracks, but the goal is just be consistent. Don't hop from because you are seeing the links, you are hopping from content creation to product management to say, let me just see how it is, let me test how the classes are. Please don't do that. It's not going to help you in the end. So please stay consistent with one track and we hope you complete it in grand style. So we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic in data analysis in the Web3 space, in the blockchain space. And Daniel Amma is the best person for the job. He is a blockchain data analyst. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Good
you
evening.
can. Please, all the participants, you're free to unmute yourself
Mm.
and speak when necessary. Thank you.
Okay, so if while I'm speaking you stop hearing me, just please unmute and let me know. Okay, so my name is Daniel Ama and I'm a blockchain data analyst. Today I'll just be speaking about what blockchain data analysis is, um, and just mention some tools for analyzing data and then just give some best practices to as an analyst. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather, so I can't really shout. So, um, okay, so what exactly is on-chain analysis or blockchain data analysis? Sorry, I'll be using the two terms interchangeably, but they mean the same thing. On-chain analysis. So, on-chain analysis basically means examining data from to derive meaningful insights. So it's a very critical tool for analysts, for traders as well, also institutions. So whether the goal is to assess market trends or detect fraudulent activities on chain or just have an understanding of what is happening on the blockchain, on-chain analysis is a powerful skill to have as a Web3 person. As of now, the blockchain is more complex than ever. New protocols are launching every day. There's cross-chain interactions. There's more complicated blockchain networks coming out every day. So on-chain analysis just provides a lens through which we can navigate this complexity. It's a very in-demand skill, and in my opinion, it will remain relevant for a very long time. So my aim today, as I mentioned before, is just to list out some tools, some best practices that could help us as blockchain data analysts, sorry, excel in this particular field. Um, okay, so for some tools for blockchain data analysis, in English language, a tool is just anything that helps you work more effectively. For on-chain analysis here is not different. A tool is just whatever resource or material helps you as an analyst work more effectively, easier, and helps you achieve more accurate data. And to provide clarity, I've categorized these tools into four different groups. So first we have block explorers or blockchain explorers. As you know, every chain has their own block explorer. So for Ethereum chain, there's Etherscan. For BSC, there's BSC scan. For Solana, there's Sol scan, and so on and so forth. So these explorers just help you track transactions basically. You can watch wallets balances, monitor smart contracts interactions, and the stuff like that. So these block explorers are very they're very necessary for um blockchain data analysis. But the thing is, when people hear on-chain analysis, they don't think of these explorers as tools or as important tools. They just look for what they envision in their mind is where you go and write, some codes and stuff like that, see charts and all those. But block explorers are like the starting point for any analysis, right? So if you do a transfer or if you interact with a protocol, the first place you should be looking to check information about that or data about that stuff you just did is a block explorer. So these tools are very important and they're the starting point for any analysis. Also, there are data aggregators or data aggregation platforms. So what these aggregators do is that they collect data, blockchain data from different sources from the blockchain itself, and then they put them together in a single platform where you can just go and view them as readable charts and dashboards. So these aggregators just provide a broader, a more analytical perspective to blockchain data. And there are many of them. There's glassnode.com, there's cryptoquants.com, there's coinmetrics.com, chain analysis. All these aggregators just what they do is they just provide pre-built metrics through charts and then they offer comparable insights. So you could go there and let's say you're trying to monitor inflows and outflows from decentralized exchanges. You could go there and just scan through their data. They already have the charts. You could just look at and understand what is happening, look at dashboards to compare different metrics and stuff like that. So yeah, these aggregators are important for we as personal researchers. They're important for projects, for blockchain companies, for institutions, even traders. So yeah, there are many other aggregators. I don't know if there's a community. I could just provide a list of some of them after this call. So they just basically synthesize raw data into actionable indicators. So they just help us detect trends and understand happenings on the blockchain. Yeah, so moving on. Remember, I'm speaking about some on-chain analysis tools here. So yeah, there are also dashboard creation and query tools. So these tools are also aggregators in the sense that they, get blockchain data from the blockchain and just keep them in a single platform where you could just access different kinds of data at once. But for these dashboard creation tools, they help you or they allow you write queries, for specific metrics we might want to look at. Someone speak. Someone speaking just now. Okay, let me continue. So okay, so we as analysts now, we might require customized insights. Like these, the aggregators I mentioned before might have just a specific list of the kind of data they offer. And in a situation where you're looking for something different, something not on those platforms, you now use this data creation, these query tools and dashboard creation tools. So what you do is what they offer is there's sorry, an example of one is Dune Analytics. I don't know if anyone here knows about it. Dune, Dune Analytics. There's also Flipside Crypto. There's also the Graph Network. So what they do is they just help enable us to write SQL queries. to explore blockchain data. And SQL is a basic programming language. SQL means structured query language, which is a basic, very easy programming language. Just helps us query this blockchain data, get specific insights, and then we can tailor our analysis to our specific needs. Yeah, so there's also forensic and compliance tools or forensic and compliance solutions. Yeah, so when you hear the word forensic, what should come to your mind is investigation, stuff like that. So these forensic tools are um, they're compliance tools. So their job basically is to address security and regulatory demands. Some examples are chainanalysis.com, elliptic.co. So what they do is they just specialize in risk assessments, anti-money laundering, security issues on the blockchain. Yeah. So, as the use of cryptocurrencies expand, the need for these forensic um, tools become greater and greater. So this will just make it easy for us to understand and see and trace, all these scam transactions on chain, fraudulent activities and stuff like that. Yeah. So these tools are also critical for we as personal researchers. They're also critical for financial institutions, Web3 projects, blockchain companies, even law enforcement agencies, because they require real-time tracking tools to detect these illicit activities on chain. Now, a key observation to note is that nobody says you need to use one of these tools on its own, right? So you can integrate these different tools. You can use more than one at a time to work on a particular research. So what this does for you is it just helps you minimize mistakes and helps you have a more comprehensive view of the data you're looking at. So for instance, let's say you're analyzing a specific protocol on Solana. You could now check the contract address for that or the program address for that protocol on SoulScan, and then at the same time use Flipside or Dune to write queries to get data on this same protocol. So that way you can compare data from different sources and just make sure you're on the right path. Right, so it's not just enough to know these tools. You also you need to know how to use them well. No, in every industry, not just Web3 and blockchain, there's some there's always some best practices you can use to ensure that your work or your analysis is reliable. So for on-chain analysis, some best practices I will suggest are first of all, you need a reliable source of data. So you need to collect data and then validate it. So it's after collecting and putting your data together, you need to confirm that okay, this data actually makes sense. It's actually correct. So we know blockchain data is vast and sometimes it can be inconsistent. So we must verify it across multiple sources, you know. So it's like when you do your experiments in your lab, for those of us that went to school, when you do your experiments in the lab, you don't just enter and mix stuff and just sit down with the results you have. There's usually an instructor and a source, like a book where you see, okay, these are expected values and this is what you should get. So after your your um your experiment, you can now confirm the accuracy of what it is. So yeah, first of all, you must verify your data across multiple sources, and then also focus on what exactly you're looking for. Focus on what matters. You can get tempting to include spot for people like us that use Dune and Flipside to write queries and analyze data for ourselves. It can be tempting when you're building a dashboard to want to include many charts and many sources, many things to just overwhelm people and make it look very big. But sometimes it can affect your analysis. So the easier, the smaller, the better. The more specific, the better. Right. So just focus on what matters. Focus on what you're looking for and avoid unnecessary metrics. Right. So and that brings me to building metrics yourself. So one of the things I always do is whenever I'm trying to analyze a protocol or analyze anything on chain, I try to interact with that platform first. So let's say I'm trying to understand how much volume Jupiter Exchange has done on Solana for swapping. What I do most times, what I do every time is to first go there and then swap. So what that will do for me is after I swap, I can now pick up my own transaction hash and then go to an explorer, block explorer, and that way I'll understand how exactly the data is. So I'm not just guessing how the data should look like. I will see exactly how the whole data is structured. So it's always advisable to interact with whatever platform you're trying to analyze first, because it just helps you understand the data better and then helps you get a more accurate, you know, um, data. So this practice is just help us form a disciplined framework for consistent results in our analysis. So it's advisable you just keep using them whenever you're working as an analyst, right? So it's also important to note that this data analysis or blockchain data analysis is not just theory. It's not just something you hear and just is actually it has real life applications. For instance, now I don't know if any of us knew about this Bybit hack that just happened. So a similar thing to that hack happened in like 2023. So there was an exploit on this protocol, Euler Finance or Euler Finance in like 2023. So after the exploit, the attackers moved millions of dollars from the protocol and then they moved them to um, centralized exchanges to cash it out. So what happened is after the attack, some analysts just use Etherscan and then Dune Analytics. So they were able to track the attacker's wallet, and then they now figured out that okay, these wallets were involved in previous hacking activities. So immediately they now track tracked these wallets to and saw that they moved the funds to centralized exchange. They moved the funds to Binance. So what the analysts did is they just reported those wallets to Binance and then Binance froze the assets there. So that way now that's just for those guys having the knowledge of blockchain data, they were able to avoid these guys moving away with those funds. And then the funds were refunded back to the protocol they were stolen from. So this knowledge is very important. The skill is a nice one to have. It's a very in demand one. And lately there are also some bounties for on-chain analysts, right? Like this Bybit hack that just happened. So the founder of Bybit just put up some amount for anybody that's able to give them accurate data about where the funds are and how to get them back, right? So this is just an example of how useful this skill is in the real world, right? Excuse me. So let me just um conclude by saying that this field, this on-chain analysis, it will only keep growing and keep getting more and more critical and in demand. Every day new blockchains are launching, new challenges, different technologies, and my recommendation is just to stay proactive, explore as many tools as possible, and just keep refining your skills if you're already an analyst. And if you're not one, if you're looking to pick up this skill. I'll advise that you do it and just stay consistent at it. It is really it's one that will not die off soon, right? It's in demand and it will just stay relevant for the longest time. So that brings me to the end of my brief presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, I will not be happy to answer, but you can just ask. Thank you.
Hi, um, dear Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for the class, and I'm sorry about your health. Yes, there's a community where you can help us list out these skills you had mentioned earlier. If Mrs. Victoria can just like probably grant you access to the community. But yeah, there's a community where you can list out everything you have told us about. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Maybe after the call, you could just send it for me.
Also, sorry, could you help me type your X page so I could just like follow you as well?
My ex handle.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Is in the chat box here.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask another question. Um, do you need the knowledge of Python here? Do you need to have the knowledge of Python here as well? Because I was reading something and then it talked about scripting, and I know that scripting is more with Python. Do I need to have a knowledge of Python to be able to be in this space as well?
Sorry, was your question if you need Python to do? on-chain analysis? I didn't get it.
Yes, yes, I think that's my question. Yes, because I
Okay, okay,
was, yeah, I was trying to read up something, and then it was talked about APIs and then scraping as well. I know that APIs and scraping is done more with Python, so I was like trying to find out.
okay. So yes, you don't need Python to start up as an on-chain analysis, but you can use Python to, upscale to improve your skills. So I mentioned Dune and Flipside Crypto for writing queries yourself. So on those particular platforms, you need just SQL, to start using them. But Python is also a programming language you can use for on-chain analysis, but you don't necessarily need it to start as an on-chain analyst. So what you need first is SQL to use these platforms, and then as you go on, as you improve yourself, then you can pick up Python too, and then work with both. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. So yeah, are there any other questions?
None from my end.
Not from my end.
Okay. Is the convener here, or can we end the meeting now? Okay, no questions. Someone is raising their hands. You can mute and speak. Chinedu, you can unmute and speak.
Okay, good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay. Real sorry that I joined in late though. So I don't know how I'll be able to get the recording because my network was really bad for the past 51 minutes. So I really don't know how do we access the recordings for the class.
Okay, she's recording the call. So, Tochukwu, do you know how you'll get the recordings? Because I don't know exactly where to send it.
I think should send it to the community or your email when the class is done.
Okay, so if Chinedu, if you're in the community already, she'll communicate with us how we get the recordings from there. So
All right. Thank you so much.
okay, so in the absence of no other questions, you can. So I'll be leaving the call now. So thank you for your time. Mm, Thank you. If you have any questions, you could just reach me on Twitter. That's the easiest place to reach me. So just text me on Twitter. I'll reply. Thank you for your time. Bye. Good night, guys.
Good night. Please take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.